Today's guest is Erick Sharp. He's the president and CEO of ACE Laboratories. All right, Erick, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, I love your background, testing, coatings, operations. You seem to have a hand in many aspects of business and sort of the testing side.
Yeah, that's part of the joy of being an independent laboratory is that you kind of get to see a little bit of everything. So we definitely span the gamut. We started out a little bit polymer centric, which obviously touches a lot of end markets. Expanded in 22 deeper into the construction market, getting into some of those coatings and other roofing products that go with that. So yeah, it's pretty wild. Every day there could be something different coming in the door, ranging from a medical application to a consumer application to roofing, whatever it might be. That gives you a broad understanding of just how much is polymers out there. So
Sure. I know that you're predominantly been in Ohio, but did you spend some time in the UK in your
yeah, so earlier in my career, I worked for an organization at the time was called Edge Tech, which has now been acquired by Quanix Building Products, and had a great opportunity to ultimately spend what amounted to a couple years worth of time in the UK with a couple different stints there. So that was really nice and exciting at that time. When I first started my career, I was growing up in southern Ohio, which is often referred to as part of the Appalachia region. And so getting into Europe and getting into the Midlands of the UK really helped, provide some good culturalization early in my career, which has been beneficial. So.
awesome, great. Yeah, so you've worked with another organization, but at some point you decide to start your own. What was the thought behind that?
Yeah, so like after the Aquanics by Edge Tech, I stuck around for about 6 months and then went into custom mixing, stayed with that company for about 4 years. And there was like a common theme between those two where they both were gobbled up by billion-dollar competitive giants. And so I decided that, hey, the best way to control my fate and at least if it was ever to get gobbled up, there would be some benefit at the end for me, would be to go and start my own venture. And so that had always been something that kind of had been, in my mind that I knew I wanted to do at some point. And that transition period of when Hexpol bought Portage Precision Polymers provided kind of that planning stage where, doing due diligence in the transition of the business, there was about a 6 month period of time that I knew that I was going to be starting this business, but still had that going on. So it allowed me to kind of soft launch some stuff, get some feet under me, get some good contracts in place before I had to 100% rely on stepping on that, which really gave me that runway I needed to get it off the ground and going. So
Yeah, I mean that's it's I'm sure others are working for organizations and are curious, right? Because
yeah,
that transition can be hard, right?
yeah.
Sometimes. But you said soft launch, so you mentioned contracts. So I guess you reached out to some of the people that you knew in the past and just try to get some early work going.
Yeah, so with the company starting out, we didn't have the massive laboratory facilities we have now. We started building that out in 2018. Now we have 40,000 square feet and 600 and some tests out there. When I first was starting out, it was the one man band. Yeah, so it was me getting to work, and then I would rent time in labs, to do if I needed to do hands-on stuff. I did a lot of consulting support too of people that didn't have their own technical departments and just needed some fractional technical director support. So I used that to kind of get my initial baseline. That first couple years is just locking in some retainer agreements on the technical support side of things and operational support, which gave me the baseline to be able to start growing the business off. Um, and building up to bigger things. So that was able to help me take the step out and know that I was kind of covered on my base, and then from there was able to start building it up. So yeah, there's a lot of good on both sides of now, you got a full team and you do a lot of fun things, but which is, definitely the preferred route. But there was a lot of fun on the individual side too, of just running and making things happen as a solo guy with some flexibility as well. So but
Sure.
quite a lot of business transitions as it grows.
Yeah, for sure. Now, like entrepreneurship has this, amazing ability to, figure out what your strengths are, but also, teaches you what you need to work on. What
Yes.
came easy? What came hard?
Yeah, so easy was solving problems and being able to um, quickly get on your feet when you get in a place and know how to make an impact and a difference. I just have that natural problem solving mind, and that's the stuff I enjoy doing. So that was kind of easy. And initially, there was that hesitation. Like I remember first kind of starting out, and my first kind of real big known company corporation that brought me in to do some consulting, and thinking in the back of the mind with imposter syndrome, and you're kind of like, well, what am I going to bring to the table here for a company like that? And I remember getting in for that first visit there, kind of seeing behind the curtain and realizing how much I had to offer that company, how much help I could provide them, and that really helped build that confidence at that point. Then, and being like, okay, well, maybe I do have some stuff to offer here to the industry as a whole that could be very beneficial. So that ended up going pretty well, and that was kind of a strength area that I tried to lean into and push my strengths more. And then not as easy. I do fine on accounting, but it's not something I want to do every day. And so when you first start up and you're having to figure out cost structures, accounting structures, how you're going to run your stuff, that's that's not fun. I could do it, but it's not fun. Didn't enjoy it. Probably not the best person at it. So it's nice that I got somebody to kind of step in there and help with that, as well as helping with some of the personnel side. I love people, and I love working with people. But also, when you get a lot of people, I'm also the one that doesn't want to spend my whole day just managing people. I love getting into stuff, and so that's another one where it's like, okay, we're gonna bring some team together that's gonna help continue to grow that as well. So I'm a big one for figuring out what your strengths are and doubling down on those and finding ways to cover your weaknesses with other people, other resources, things like that. Because the your strength is what gets you to where you're at. Sure, you need to polish up your weaknesses the best you can, but I don't get overly concerned trying to make my weaknesses strengths. Yeah, it's more of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, for sure. I'm good enough so that when you hand it off, you can still interact and understand what's going on,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not zero, because you can't just hand it off without knowing anything.
yeah.
Perfect. You mentioned 600 tests. I mean, specifications, testings is a big area. I
Yeah.
mean, how did you sort of prioritize that growth of the thing? Did you say, your clients start to ask for it, and you start to look like, well, how much would that machinery cost?
Yes.
Or like, how, did you cluster them? What was your strategy on that sort of testing
Yeah.
offering?
So there was big chunks of clustering, and then there was some individual ads. So when we first said, okay, we're going to put in our own lab, we put in setup to do physical mechanical type testing on polymers. Um, and we got a good base going with that, and we started doing a little bit of weathering to support that too and stuff. And then in 2020, a fellow entrepreneurial friend of mine decided that he didn't want to keep going with his analytical lab through all the COVID madness and everything. And so we acquired that and brought that over and repositioned it to support our business. So that's what got us all of the analytical testing capabilities that we do now. A lot of it's like compliance testing, reverse engineering, that type of stuff. And then in 22, there was a construction lab that was very aware of, and we had done some partnerships before on other tests. and their mothership company decided to liquidate them. Is a company called Momentum Technologies Laboratories, and Corey McCall was their parent company. They liquidated them, and so we were able to bring over the team and the assets, and now we got all of the assets that came from that, and brought it in. So that's what helped us do some of our segmenting. And so as far as the big chunks, but it does still seem like even today that, there's always test that comes up, and it's like that analysis you said. Okay, well, how big's the demand for this test? What's the price? What's the price of the capital? And you're kind of doing that assessment to see, should we get into this or not? How competitive is it? And to be fair, we've won some of those and we've lost some of those. There's some things that we've got into where it's like, yeah, probably shouldn't have got into that one, but that's business. You don't win
Yeah.
them all. So.
I mean, and the testing requirements of the organization keep sort of changing. I guess
Yeah.
there's new standards that come up that become a little bit more popular. So I guess you're constantly juggling
Yeah.
where you're focusing your sales and marketing effort.
Yeah, yeah. So we're always trying to stay alert, especially as standards changes, because a lot of people then quickly need testing, and so we have a lot of our team members that sit on the different ASTM committees and stuff like that to try to, stay ahead of what's coming, but also provide feedback on what direction they should go for testing and stuff too. Because
Yeah.
we running the test every day. A lot of times we see things in test methods where it's like that doesn't necessarily make sense. And so being able to bring that forward, and provide some of that, we try to do that too. But those committees sometimes move a bit slow, so it's a process to getting them out there. But we like to both provide information and use it as an opportunity to get an idea of what direction some of this testing might be going, so we can know how to jump on it. I credit that with a lot of our success is just the ability to see when something's coming up that could be a hot opportunity and being able to pivot and be quick about getting into segments of markets. That's really vital to our business, is the ability to respond quickly.
Yeah. I mean, not not to get to a granular level, but in a general sense, which sort of areas and rough areas around testing or specifications are top of mind for you at this point?
Yeah, so like I said, we play in a lot of segments that's out there. We're seeing a lot of growth actually in a lot of the regulatory compliance of materials. A lot of people that, whether it's domestic regulatory compliance or it's people that are shipping product into the EU that have to have regulatory compliance for. But we do a lot of regulatory compliance release analysis for people. On the roofing material and coating material type aspect of things. There's been just a lot of growth in how these methods have evolved to better simulate, real world phenomenons like hurricanes and hail damage and stuff like that. So those continue to kind of escalate in the type of stuff that you would do in the not integrity, but the vigor of the test itself. They get more extreme. Uh, so we're seeing those advance quite a bit there as well. And we try to monitor markets to see if there's certain things that are tailing off as far as the standard, or growing, and what market's going to be hot and growing in the current market. And right now, it's been a little bit difficult. It's been a bit of a volatile market this year, ups and downs, and predictability. So that even shortens that window even more so of seeing an opportunity, being able to jump on it, and actually being able to harvest it before the opportunity goes away. So yeah, it's been a little more challenging year this year for seizing those opportunities, but we keep the same philosophy to.
Yeah, for sure. I know, yeah, specifically you're part of the Cool Roof Rating Council. Anything interesting going on there? Like we are, I guess we're members, I guess, right? Because we go through
Yeah.
it. So I'm curious, anything top of mind there that comes to mind?
Yeah, I just was there a couple weeks ago for their annual general meeting in New Orleans, and I joined their board. So I had my first board meeting with them this this couple weeks ago, so that was good. But no, they continue to grow and broaden. Obviously, it first started with roof, and then a few years ago they added the wall ratings now, where they're able to use similar type concepts of being able to rate the solar reflectance and emittance of the coatings going on walls to help with heat island effect. And now, there's exploration taking place with a committee focused on how we can do paving. And so, similar aspect to the heat island, the paving makes up a large percentage of that space in the heat island. And so, there's some really cool studies out there. Some of them that were presented at the annual general meeting of how doing a lighter colored emulsion coating on the top of paving, just how big of a difference that makes. Um, so yeah, it's been kind of exciting to see, their concept broaden. And now obviously that stems the whole question of like, okay, should it still be the cool roof rating council, or do we gotta make it, cool materials or whatever? But that's probably a longer term discussion to have there, but it's nice that they're taking a broader approach and seeing all the places it can apply for it. So I think that's been cool to see, and building more numbers. And now they're starting with the recertification process this year instead of the randoms going to recertification, which I think falls in line with a lot more of the certified programs that are out there, like Miami Dade and those types of ones. It's following that kind of concept. So I'll be more familiar with with the manufacturers in the market. But no, I think there's a lot of growth taking place there, and innovative mindsets. I love jumping in the board meeting and knowing that one of the focuses on the board side is the strategy side of how do we take the technology that we have and further expand it to make an even bigger impact. So I think there'll be exciting things coming with Coal Roof Rating Council.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about innovation. I love that topic. I know that there's a lot of innovative things happening. Not all innovation, it makes it to the market quickly or whatnot. But in your experience, you're involved in testing and materials and all these things. Um, what's some strategies or ideas around trying to get more of these great ideas to the marketplace?
Yeah, yeah, innovation is a passion area of my own. And so we love when there's new concepts coming through. And we do also have a sister to the lab. We have an innovations company where we incubate technologies of our own for licensing purposes. And so we're always trying to think of like, especially when there's like a new standard that comes out that knocks out everything that's out there, or there's a new phenomena crisis that happened, that now everybody is looking for solutions to. And so we always monitor those, see what we can come up with that maybe we can have some technology to support that, or we will work as a contract agent to help people develop it. um, but one of the things I've noticed throughout my career is this isn't like an end all be all always this way, but the majority of the time innovation's happening by small businesses. You get a lot of concepts from universities. They bring a lot of concepts to the table. Small businesses are the ones that are taking concepts and making them into commercial practicality. And then the big businesses are the ones that buy it up. So that's seems to be kind of the sequence that it goes from what we've seen. That works, but I love being in the space where we can be free thinkers of innovation, because that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to continue with the prior companies when we were acquired by big organizations, because a lot of my work I did was part of innovations group, new product development, those types of things. And just seeing, after being acquired by a big corporation, how much it slows down just a process to develop and innovate anything is so slow compared to the pace that I like to run. And so that's one of the reasons why small businesses, tend to commercialize innovation quicker than anywhere else. And I like us being in the position, even if we're not developing the innovation ourselves, but doing it as a contract for somebody, is that they can sub that out to us and we can just, hammer down and drive this home. We have a lab, we have the sandbox in front of us. and we can come out with a solution for them, and they didn't have to expend their manpower resources, and have all the capabilities we have to assess everything 7 ways to Sunday. So we really can expedite innovation pretty quickly. So that's one of the reasons why we like when there's things coming about that's really driving innovation. And a lot of things that drive innovation can be legislative changes that are pushing you to do better, have better performance, better rankings, whatever it might be. It can also be failures in the market that's kind of changing the whole standard and spec, that suddenly there's a new requirement that's needed, as well as consolidation and businesses closing down, types of materials no longer being available, and now you got to innovate a new way to make an end product. Those types of things. Um, so there's events every day kind of prompting the need for continual innovation taking place out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that area. Um, anything, I mean, you talked about innovation, we talked about entrepreneurship. Anything else that you want to pass on that I haven't asked?
No, I think those are good topics for sure. I mean, the entrepreneurship is something that I love, and I always strive people to consider and look at, especially people that like to make things happen and kind of feel constraint in other areas for it. I think it's a great pathway for them to go, and a lot more. We're seeing a lot more of it, especially in this industry. Within the polymer segment, outside of the individual segments like roofing and healthcare and those different things, just within polymer as a whole, as far as polymer scientists and things, there's a substantial shortage of the technical chemist and scientist in this space. And so that's creating an opportunity for those that possess that skill to not just go work for somebody, but to actually become their own entity and contract out some of that fractional support, like how I first started this business. And so there's a lot of opportunities out there being driven by the demand for these resources and people maximizing and leveraging their knowledge to not just be, plugged into one place, but be able to maximize it and contract it out. So that's been kind of exciting to see that, and I've always been supporting my friends as I see them in the opportunity to do that. So I think there's good opportunities on the entrepreneurship side, and obviously innovation goes really hand in hand with that. The more you can drive innovation, the more successful you're going to be as an entrepreneur for sure. So those continue to strive, but those are two passion areas of mine, and just continually using the opportunity to give back both to humanity and the environment, and what we can do to leave everything in a better place. So.